special teams, but also in the offense with the running back, receiver.
Yeah, he's a versatile guy. He showed us in the spring that he's improved as a receiver, but also that when you watch his high school film, he's really good running the ball. So we got to be, creative in ways to get him the football, playing in and out of the backfield on jet sweeps, and then being able to go out and create some matchup issues as a receiver. So Jonathan's worked hard. He did a great job on the scout team last year growing up. He's almost 190 pounds now, so I'm excited to see if he can be our guy, the kickoff returner, because he can, as you know, take it to the distance.
This is a profession that kind of spits people out. Chews them up, spits them out. To stay at a place for 13 years, what have you learned about the persevering or staying, in that mindset that you can stay at a place that long and have success that you've had?
Well, I'm glad they haven't, kicked me out yet, gotten sick of me. I think some of them probably have. I've embraced NC State and in all ways, whether it's helping out in the community, doing things on the academic side with Unpacking Power, Sarah and I. I'm not just a coach, I'm somebody that cares deeply about the university. I've shown that, and I've had one of my sons, Luke, graduated from NC State. So we look at this as our place, and I care deeply about what we do. No one hurts more than I do when we don't perform the way that I want us to. So I put a lot of time, blood, sweat, and energy into this place. We built it the right way. I'm really excited about the group I have coming back and how hungry they are. And it's okay that we're under the radar. I think that fits us. We need to go prove who we are.
Are there things you do to avoid that kind of burnout, that kind of thing that you've seen coaches get out of it just because they can't handle it?
Yeah, it's hard. I think things have changed a lot in 3 years. And unlike other changes we've had, there's been a lack of here's how you need to do what's coming. It's been very, just thrown at us. And in some cases with no leadership around it, because it's not coming from the NCAA, it came from the courts. It's a decision that, not that anyone likes it or doesn't like it, it doesn't matter. Nobody gave us a roadmap on the best way to do it. And so you kind of had to get into this differently than everything else in the profession. For 29 years, if the rule changed, it changed because the NCAA wanted it to. All the coaches had to follow the rules. There was people enforcing the rules, and you didn't want to be one of those coaches that was caught doing something wrong because you publicly are humiliated. You get a show cause and not be able to coach anymore. Like in this new space, a lot of the stuff that's happening, it's not even being looked at, and it's sad. It's sad to watch, but it hasn't changed what I love. I love the player relationship. I love the coach-to-coach relationship. I love the competition. So I just try to lean into the lane that I'm comfortable in, and that's, building culture, competing, helping guys get better, and hoping that eventually this thing gets settled the right way. To your point, I lean into my family, my faith, find enough time to get away. I think that's important. You don't want to avoid burnout, whether you got to get out of the office, and clear your head. I've been able to do that enough where I feel refreshed.
You mentioned some of your former players.
I'm sorry, what?
You mentioned some of your former players being on the staff. Obviously, they're younger. They have a different future in terms of rules and everything that is happening in college football. What's some of the things you kind of told them to get them hooked on being a coach?
In Isaiah Moore's case, he's born to be a coach. And that guy's leadership is as good as anyone I've ever seen in my career. He's going to be a great coach. He's going to be a great head coach one day. I'm excited for Isaiah. So in his case, it wasn't much of a selling thing. I actually told him, whenever football ends, I'm ready to put the whistle around your neck. Those other guys were, maybe they needed to try to play as long as they could and then figure out they're not good enough. Gavin's been on my staff for a long time, then he left and I brought him back. My entry to college football was through my college coach. He hired me when I was a high school coach. He hired Charlie Partridge, who's now the D-line coach for the Colts. He hired Chris Ash, the D coordinator for Notre Dame, and Brendan Daly, linebacker coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. We all played at Drake at the same time, and we all coached there. So I learned that promoting from within is a good thing. And hiring your players, there's just something about that. Like, it's your school, man. Like, you do not want to see them fail. And so there's a different level of commitment to the cause when you have a former player on staff. And so it's pretty personal, and it's exciting, to be someplace so long. I think I have 7 former players in our building now doing something, whether they're in the weight room, in the recruiting staff, and player development, or on the coaching staff.
And you've had Thunder along your side all these years.
Yeah.
What is it like to lean on him, and how has he kind of evolved in his role over the years?
Yeah, he's a guardian of our program for sure. He cares deeply about our players, but he cares a lot about the university and the culture we have in the locker room, and upholding the standards and the rules that we have. And so he definitely does a great job, not just developing players, but creating an opportunity for them to grow into the best version of themselves.
What does it mean to just get a chance to play ECU right off the bat, coming off the bowl game and kind of correct it right away?
Yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity to rectify a poor performance and poor behavior against the team we respect. And that game to me is so much about us and not them. But yeah, I wish we could have played them a month ago, just because you want to get to that next game when you play poorly, and that's the only way to get the taste out of your mouth is to get back on the field and compete. You got to do it against a team that returns a lot of good players. They're going to be a good team.
Coach, you've never had back-to-back losing seasons at NC State. Is there any added pressure on how to avoid that feat next season?
No, I don't think pressure really exists. You can create that. To me, it's every year I come into this job with the exact same expectations to be the very best football team we can be, to win every game we can win, with the ambition of being the conference champion. That's never changed. Even when we were terrible my first year, I didn't walk into the season, we're going to be 3-0. Like, no. Let's find a way to upset this team. How can we beat that team? Like, that's how I am. That's how most coaches are. And this year's no different. I expect to win every game. I expect to have a great season, and I expect our players to help me.
You talked in November about the settlement and about unknowns with the roster. Is there some relief now having an answer, and how is that affecting the walk-ons?
Well, it's good to have some clarity finally. This case kind of hung over our heads for a long time. And the grandfather thing that the judge did was a good thing. It's nice to be able to retain our walk-ons that we can retain and have a roster that, is at 125 players. I think that's the right thing for college football. Player safety is supposed to matter. And when you shrink the roster, you're basically saying that doesn't matter. So I'm glad that the judge understood that. We'll see what happens. I don't think anything's final. To me, like, this is going to change more and more. So, but I'm just happy that we're able to retain the walk-ons we've had. Those guys are an integral part of our team. As you know, I've put over 40 walk-ons on scholarship in my tenure. So I look forward to having those guys, and hopefully, as things change over time, we can continue to add them. And we're in an evolving state, man. College football, college athletics. I think you know what's going on, and the next day, what just happened. And so, just got to bend your knees, be flexible, find a way, and not get caught up in the complaining that happens. It doesn't really fix it.
You're still at 125 players? Really?
With regard to the East Carolina series, I know the conference is kind of goes away from keep 5 games on the road, but is it one you still hope to schedule whenever possible?
No, I don't think whatever possible. I like playing in-state teams. I think playing different in-state teams is good. We have Campbell on the schedule. We have App State on the schedule. Obviously, we play the in-state ACC games. We have ECU on the future schedule. We have Charlotte on the future schedule. So, I think getting around the state helps those programs as well. I think it's important that we can fulfill, the TV quality of games that they're asking us to have as well. Like, that's something that the ACC has asked us to do. So playing as many competitive Power 4 games that we can play is something we've been asked to do. And so we're going to try to do both. Keep playing in-state games, but also fit what the ACC and ESPN has asked us to do with our TV.
Your schedule's unique in the way where you don't have to leave North Carolina until week 7.
I know, it's great.
Have you ever experienced anything like that in terms of coaching where your schedule
I
allowed you?
think we had one other year where we only left the state twice. Or maybe it was we only had to take one plane flight. But yeah, I mean, that's part of what's unique and challenging about NC State. When you play, we have 3 other teams in the state, in the conference, and then you have, App State, you have ECU, you have Charlotte. There's 7 Division I football teams in North Carolina. And so recruiting in our state is different. When I was at Wisconsin, we were the only Division I football team. If you grew up in that state and you wanted to play Division I football, you were going to be a Badger. And so you could get really good players in state, and there wasn't a lot of competition, even though other schools would offer it. They grew up in the red and white there. And different here. You got to battle for every kid. I mean, there might be a dad that was an NC State grad, but mom went somewhere else, right? So we got to fight hard to get every kid, and it's different. So, it's just part of what you do. You got to learn how to keep kids home. And the SEC schools or the Virginia schools that come in and recruit, you got to try to battle them. It's a fertile area of players that really doesn't have a school in mind sometimes. Very rarely do you find a mother and father that are both state grads.
Have you seen enough from the offense so far to get a feel for whether it'll be more potent and more productive than it was last year?
I'm excited about our offense. And if you have a returning starter quarterback, first time in 3 years, a lot of returning talent, receivers, tight ends, running backs, we should be able to do a great job.
What's your reaction to Brandon Cease's transfer?
I'd rather focus on the kids on the team.
What was, in terms of recruiting, what is your philosophy when focusing on the kids from North Carolina?
When I got to NC State, I think it was around 50% of our roster. We've always tried to get it closer to 70%, and I couldn't tell you exactly where it sits today. But I know if you look over the years, we've signed more in-state players than anybody. And because of the experiences I've had, in Montana, when we won a national championship, we had a ton of Montana kids. In Kansas, when we turned that program around, we had a lot of in-state kids. Wisconsin, a lot of in-state kids, and those were all championship programs. And so I've always looked at this as an opportunity to keep kids home, help mom and dad, help grandma and grandpa, whoever comes and watches them play, help their high school coaches by letting them come see their guys play. I think all those things matter. Their quality of life when they get time off, easy to get home and see their family if something's going on. Or if they just want to go home on a Sunday and go to church with somebody, they can do that, And that simplicity, quality of life type things matter. And because of that, if you look at the stats, we've put more players in the NFL from the state of North Carolina than any program in college football over the last 10 years. So the stats tell you that staying home gives you a better opportunity to make it to the league if you're at NC State.
You got a sense yet about whether the pass rush might be improved from last year?
Well, that's a goal of ours. We felt like that was an area that we lacked production. I just said this. I think Philadelphia Eagles did a great job showcasing how good a 4-man pass rush can decimate an offense in the Super Bowl. And Patrick Mahomes and that offense all year kind of had their way in the league until they ran into that pass rush. So I felt like last year Davin Mann was a great pass rusher for NC State. When he wasn't on the field, we didn't have that presence. So we had to, develop, help Trevally Price, help Isaiah Shirley, help some of the returning players, but also recruit some guys that can add edge presence. And DJ Elliott's done a great job helping with that.
We expect to see some different looks in the traditional 2-3-5.
Yeah, absolutely.
The ACC is implementing injury reports this season. How do you feel about that? Do you like it, dislike it?
I'm not in favor of it, but it doesn't matter. We've had them before. The reason I'm not in favor of it, I think the coaches don't tell the truth on them anyway. And look, we don't want to put our players' injuries out there because there's a lot of HIPAA around stuff that you can't do. And as a coach, I don't want someone to know that one of my guys has a low ankle injury or a knee injury because, I don't know all those coaches, and maybe they're going to tell somebody to go low on them, right? Like, I'm trying to protect my guys. I'm not trying to help bettors. and that's what that stuff's all about. And to me, I don't get it, but they made that decision, so that's what we'll do. So be it.
CJ having a full spring to have those 1 reps. What have you seen from him in terms of growth, CJ?
Yeah, it's a kid that instead of learning an offense, learning his teammates, learning his coaches, he knows all those things. So he's 30 pounds heavier. He's experienced. He knows his teammates. He knows his coaches. He knows what he wants to improve on. He knows some of his opponents. Totally different. And focusing on leadership and upper level learning defenses at a new level. It's been fun watching him.
What do you talked a little bit about the idea of like letting go of a bad play. He talked to Louisiana Tech. He said he had an interception that game, and it was hard for him to kind of let it go. That's one of those learning things he had to pick up. Like, how did you kind of see him mature through that kind of process?
Yeah, I think the next play mentality is easy to say and hard to do for a lot of players. And to CJ's credit, he bounces back pretty fast. He's very resilient. Not that it doesn't bother him, but he's able to get to the next snap. And I always tell these guys, like, you can have a bad play. Just realize the next play could win the game. You might throw a touchdown on the next play. So you got to get out of your head and get back into focus on what that play needs. And you got to go through that as a player. Sometimes you got to fail to understand it. CJ's gotten a lot better at that.
What do you think about the offensive approach and philosophy that Roper has put into both?
Yeah, it's just, Kurt understands Tim Beck's offense. He understands Robert and I's offense. He understands the offense he ran at South Carolina and Florida. Kurt understands how to bend things to fit the personnel that he has. And one of the things I wanted to be better at was, just making adjustments in game. Like, you might think they're going to defend you one way, but you get in the game and they're not. They're playing you a different way than you thought. And now you got to make some adjustments.